had a note in my phone to remind myself for ages to talk about role models. So I've been thinking about the importance of role models and how we need to find role models that we connect with in terms of who we are, in terms of our personality type, people whose behaviour we could emulate because they're similar enough to ourselves. And for a long time, I thought I didn't have any role models. And then I realised I did, but they were the kind of role models my mum didn't want me to have. So I have an auntie. She's quite elderly now and has dementia. She's very different to how she used to be. Her personality is the same, but it's a while since I've seen her. But she used to be this amazing, flighty, fast-talking, flamboyant person who wore clothes not like anyone else that represented who she was. She wore lots of jewellery. She was full of joy about life, although she could become quite dark and sad sometimes. She had been on all sorts of amazing adventures, and her life was chaotic and crazy, but full of reality and genuineness and truth and big feelings. And I loved that about her. And we had this, I don't know how many greats, like a great something can't, back in the late 1800s that I found out about. And her name was Isabel France. And she'd gone off to Chile for 10 years. No one knew why. And then she'd come back, Valparaiso in Chile. And I went there for one day when I visited South America. And I wished I'd stayed longer because I could feel why she would have wanted to stay there. So this was a woman on her own in the late 1800s who just went on an adventure. No one really knows why. And then she came back. And I did do a bit of digging and found out that her older sister had run a language school in North Yorkshire. And so I wondered maybe whether she also had worked at the language school and wanted to practice her Spanish. It's the only thing I could think of. But this auntie of mine often used to say that maybe I was Isabel France reincarnated. And I loved that idea, the idea of this adventurous spirit that takes you away from whatever life you're in to explore other lives and other cultures and other ways of being. But that wasn't really the family that I was brought up in. I mean, I'm from a mixed culture family, so obviously my parents had travelled and been to different cultures and had now married out of their culture. But this kind of butterfly way of being, of darting and dashing from one interesting and amazing thing to do to another, was not really what I was brought up with, and that's who I was. And I often felt I was the only one in the family like that, and that was difficult. And I also had this great aunt who died at the age of 96, and she used to do healing fortnightly. And the hand movements she showed me are very similar to Reiki. So I don't know if it was Reiki. She died a long time ago, maybe 13 years ago or so now. But she did healing once a fortnight. She did yoga every week for 70 years. And without even knowing that, I'd already got into yoga and healing. And I realised that there are threads that run through your family, and sometimes it takes you a while to find them, but eventually you will find your role models. You'll find the threads that you're meant to carry on down through your generation, pass on to the next generation. And for me, it's really important to find those connections, to find where those threads are, to find the colour and the shape of them, to find how far back they stretch, because it helps you to create a really strong and connected sense of identity. It helps you to ground yourself, to anchor yourself into somewhere, to know that you belong. But it can be hard to find. It can be hard to find those connections sometimes, especially if you're not in contact with some parts of your family. And I wonder what it is like to not find any of those connections, to always think that you're the only person who is like you in your family, and how alienating that can be, and then how important it is to find those connections in people that you meet to create your own urban family. Anyway, I'm kind of pondering this in a really sort of gentle and distracted way today. I wish I'd posted my thoughts on this weeks ago when I first thought about it, because now there's a robot lawnmower outside that's distracting me. I thought I wanted one, but I really don't. It's really distracting. And I keep wanting to talk to it when I see it as if it's some kind of small animal. So I shan't be getting a robot lawnmower anytime soon. And I shall be continuing to think about this idea of role models and their importance in life as a way of connection and identity and belonging, as well as by offering you a blueprint on how to lead your life so that you don't have to start from scratch with everything, and so that you know you belong, you know that you're accepted in some way from way back. Anyway, have a great weekend, everyone. If I post this today, have a great weekend. If I end up posting it next week, have a great week. Take care.